because our school used to have they called it a 10-mile fun run every summer that the whole school had to do. I think it was about 9.5 in reality, but I really enjoyed running even at a young age, and I think this was me winning sort of year 7 to 9, like probably about 7th or 8th in the year. So I really got into running from quite an early age. So I remember one story from school. It was a cross country. Because I wasn't very good at football or no coordination with my feet, the PE teacher didn't know that actually I was quite good at running. So I remember sitting in this PE changing room, and it was like the reserve PE teacher coming to pick the cross-country team to run for the district championships. And I'm there, like, quite quiet, not a football player, and he picks like 6 football players to go to the championship. And I was like, oh. So next year, I went and won all the 6 races at the school, just as like, right, I can show you, I'm actually good at running. And that stuck in my head for a long, long time, that, okay, yes, you're going to get disappointed, but you can bounce back. That early lesson of resilience was actually a really good lesson, even though I wasn't very happy at the time. What other things that made me, at that age, was I was a member of Scouts, and it was quite an outdoor Scouts that we ended going to summer holidays in Scotland, Wales, down to Dartmoor, and always playing outside. And there was an event called Peak Assault, which was like Hertfordshire Scouts on equivalent, so a 2-day navigation event where you're in your patrol or group of 4, and you have to find control locations for 2 days. And I remember being like really competitive even at that stage and having to win. And I think we did manage to win it one year. So that fierceness of competition and drive was clearly evident from a very, very young age. So then I started to get a bit older. Probably, you all know what being an undone tough guy? Yeah. So I remember 15 being dragged along by my dad and his friend Dave, and right, we're going to go tough guy. And it's an obstacle course near Birmingham.
Winter or summer?
Winter. It was, I don't think they had the summer version of that when I was 15. And it's like you're breaking the ice on the water and having to go under these wooden poles. And I remember getting in a muddy thing and getting cramped for the first time and not being able to pull the foot out. And then at the end, just shivering, like being a wreck, and thinking, wow, that was fun. When can I go again? So you get that thirst for, oh, this is type 2 fun. Right, okay, I enjoy that. Then there was something called Ace Races, which was kind of an early adventure race in the UK, and it was over 2 days. And there's 5 different stages. Some was biking, some was running, some was canoeing, and it was like a score event, so you try to collect as many points in the time allotted. So that was like my first introduction to multi-sport, and then I started watching images of Eco Challenge and Ray Gulwar's on which were like multi-day expedition races across the globe. Oh, maybe one day I could do that. And then I guess, and then I got distracted. University happened, and you start to fall off, and you enjoy beer and drugs and rock and roll and all those things. And then I got probably the worst phone call that you ever want. I remember I was in my room at university studying for the final exam of my university, and I got that call that the main person, one of the main people in your life, has passed away. And it kind of really rocks your boat, quite a lot. And it took a long time. For a year or 2, I really sort of tried to hold it together, and then had some tough times.
as you would. You try and, you're the oldest son, so you try and hold it together for the others, and then eventually you have to breathe. So I went travelling, became a dive instructor, I drank a lot, enjoyed the travel and the adventure, and it was brilliant. But eventually, I remember a spark. I came back home for a short visit, and I thought, my mum had moved up to the Lake District at this stage, and there was an orienteering event on the fell just behind. At this stage, I was smoking and not very fit really. So I went and entered the green event. It was probably about middle of the road in the orienteering event, probably about an hour worth of exercise. And I remember really struggling to keep up with like vet 50s, vet 60s. I'm thinking, why am I down the middle of this event sheet? You know, I'm better at that. It took a little while, but that was the spark that kind of reignited, actually, I have a dream. So I eventually had this ambition, was actually, maybe I can do one of these eco challenges or adventure races. So I arrived back settled in the Lake District, got a job at Outward Bound, taking children camping, canoeing, climbing, and it was a pretty full-on job. But I just started running, biking, paddling constantly, and I was driven, and I just did more and more and more. So in a way, looking back on it, I was creating this huge aerobic base of fitness and an engine that has helped me eventually become an elite runner. So I used to love fell racing, biking, paddling. I was doing a lot of sport, a lot of cross training, and a lot of different things. And then, I guess eventually, you start to get a bit closer to your aspiration. The ambition gets a little bit closer as you tick more goals. I started doing some training courses on the bike to improve my skills. I started looking at little bits of coaching in different directions to find ways to improve. And then I remember, eventually, I got asked, do you want to come and join our adventure race team? And we want to go to World Championships. And so this was us in 2012 going to the raid in France, and it was maximum time there, 7.5 days to cross from the Écrins in the middle of the Alps all the way to the Mediterranean. So I think it was about 650 kilometres and a lot of elevation. And I remember it being the toughest thing that I think I've ever done in terms of where I had to take my body to and then come out of it to finish. We were, after the first day, it was like they made us climb up to this alpine stage where we had to carry these big boots, which, you know, we weren't used to wearing these big alpine boots. And suddenly we're running in these alpine boots, and two of us got pretty bad blisters on day one, and we're having to deal with blisters for another 7.5 days. And we got to a point, I remember this, I put the rafting photo there, because we set off at like, just before dark zone, got about 20 minutes down the stream, had to pull out and sit there for the night before we get back on the river. And then we got back on the river, and it was like a high rapid, and within 5 minutes of being in the rapid, I was underneath the boat, hanging on, waiting for us to come out of the rapid, jump back on, and then you're in the competition again, and like, right, off we go. And you kind of forget what you've just been. I remember it got to about day 6, and we were the last team on full course still, and we really wanted to be the team that did finish the whole course and not get short coursed. So I remember the cut-off getting really, really close, and Alex, just in the middle of the left-hand picture, was in a bad way, and there was me and Anne, put 2 bungees onto his rucksack, and we were pulling him as hard as we could to try and make this cut-off. We made it, but I was blown at that point. You know, I couldn't eat anymore. When I slept, it wasn't very good sleep. So I don't remember the next day of the bike ride. to get to the Mediterranean. Somehow Ant was still conscious and could navigate, and the rest of us sort of kind of vaguely followed on our bikes, walking, riding, and we got there. And it was that feeling of crossing the finish line in the Mediterranean will always stick to me as, wow, this is why I do these big things, why I push myself to my limits, because I love that feeling of crossing that finish line and going, wow, did I really do that? And nothing's really got close to that, how far I pushed myself on that, and how deep I went and pulled myself back round. So I always remember, was it that bad? Well, no, maybe I can push on a bit more.
Was that the worst you've ever been in a heap, as such? Can you remember it being worse than that?
Yeah, no,
That's rock bottom.
that was rock bottom, real rock bottom, and to finish and pull through. And to be fair, Alex was in a way worse position than me. And for half the race, he was in. We were discussing whether we should carry on or not. He was in that sort of situation, but he was still moving and keen to carry on, so we kept him moving along. And it was great. We all finished, and we were really, really happy.
So remember that when you get to Pen 2 and tomorrow, that those last 4 miles.
Stay away from the speaker.
So, kind of the reasons I put pictures here was there was I kind of moved off adventure racing eventually, and it was quite expensive and took a lot of time. Although I loved the journeys that it took me to, eventually my wife said, no, enough's enough, we can't afford this. So, but kind of this time I was transitioning to running. Running was always my passion and my best sport. And Leighton 50 was going to be the British Championships. So I thought, well, why not give this a go? And I was always there to try and win it, and that's the way I am, try and win things. And it was going to be the British champs. It was the British champs that year, and there was like 4 or 5 of us all gunning at the start, all wrapped up. We all went off really, really hard. And then there was Marcus Scotney, who like the year before went off hard and blew up because it was hot. So he went, all right, I'm going to be cautious. And then there's 4 of us racing on. Eventually we got halfway through and I made my break and I got ahead. I thought, wow, this is going to be my day. I remember getting to Kentmere and dipping myself in the river because it was so hot, and then carrying on over to the pass and started to feel not so great. Got into Ambleside in the lead, and luckily I had the foresight to just, right, let's get some food in, get lots of Coca-Cola and take stock of things. So I was carrying on, and then suddenly, oh no, there's Marcus. He's coming along at full pace, and he's like, right, I've got to break him here, and he's gone, right, I'm going to go straight past, and I've got, no you're not, and I've had to click into, I think we were doing about 6.5 minute miles for like a mile, but he was trying to break me, I was trying to hang on for dear life, and then eventually we got through Chapel Style, and it started to get a bit more lumpy, and then he got to a style, and he got that really sort of cramp, and that was it. I was off. I'm having this. There was no like, are you okay? And yeah, eventually across that line, and the smile of, have I really done this? And that was kind of one of my big ultra breakthroughs, which, because of the selectors, it wasn't a selection race, but because it was a British Championship, it stepped me in a good place to get selected for 2015, which it did. The other race that, because I used to do lots of fell races, this was me finishing second at an English Championship fell race called the Great Lakes. And so it's an AL, and it's really quite gnarly, and it was the most biblical day with high rivers, and it was such fun in that type 2 type of way. And I remember racing down the last hill, chasing the guy in front, and it was probably one of my best fell races. And it was just that split moment, actually, I can do well here. and it kind of puts you into a different mindset of, right, how do I get better and be a runner?
I recognise that picture.
And this is me at Transvolcania, because I knew that this was the first time I met Ferg, and I think it was Isabel. I think I met Isabel on the bus on the way to the start. And I think it was one of those races, Transvolcania. It's just a beautiful route. It's this big volcano, and you just climb and climb and climb. You start off in the dark, and then this beautiful sunrise, looking out over into the ocean, and then eventually the sun comes up. And by the time you're at the top and going around the caldera, you're in this scorching sauna like Tokyo-like, must be. And it's just, and by the top, they're pouring buckets of water over it, and it just comes off as steam. And so you're in this sort of dizzy sort of world. So you're going really well, and you're fresh, and then suddenly I don't feel so good.
That start is just, I think, 45 minutes for the first mile, I think it was, because it's just volcanic ash.
Yes.
You run up like a volcano, and it's insane, the start, isn't it? It's just incredible how hard the start is.
And that year we did it, literally, we walked down on this bit of concrete down by the sea. You run around this lighthouse, and it went into 2 abreast single track within 200 metres.
Yeah.
And even near the front, it's this sort of crowded, and everyone, it's like a 100-metre dash around that. It was so fast. And then it carries on fast, and then it carries on, and then eventually it's not so fast because you've blown up. But you get to the top, and you're in this, I'm not feeling very good. Some people are on like drips, not me, but later on, or getting lifted off. But you've got this over 2,000 metres of descent all the way back down to the ocean. So by the bottom, your quads are like blown, and then they've got this sense of humour. The best place would be to finish at the sea, so you go just enjoy it. But no, they send you inland to the main town, which is through this dry riverbed up this hill, and it's just like the most grueling last few miles of a race. You're mentally blown, and you go, but it's brilliant. It's the most well-supported. Highly recommend doing that race. I love it. I think I have been back again and had a similar experience the first time. I went really well and blew up at the top and suffered on the way down. But I would go there if you can. Go do Transvolcania. So this is probably one of my highlights of my career. The proudest moments, standing on a podium at the World Championships next to some of these guys, like Tim Collison, Alex Nichols, Ludwig Pomerant, 4-time, 3-time champ at UTMB, Xavier. So it's just really, really proud moment to be at that opportunity to pull on GB colours and race around Lake Annecy. It was just incredible. And actually competing as well. I think I came 20th in that race, and I was the second count of the GB team, which helped us obviously win bronze medal, and Tom Owens came 4th. So that was just a real highlight of one of my highlights of the career that kind of makes it worth it. 2016, didn't have such a good race for GB, and ended up in as a DNF. But you have your lows and you have your highs. It's how you bounce back that's really important. Sometimes the race doesn't go to plan. You overcook it, you get an injury, but it's how you process that and go, okay, that's what went wrong, that's what went right, let's chuck it aside and go and have fun again. And every race is a new opportunity to make memories and learn things. This year was probably one of my best years in terms of race results. I raced a lot that year. I can remember that was GB in May. I remember setting the record at Leighton Trails 110k. I remember doing UTMB for the first time, and at that stage I could beat Mr. Damon Hall at UTMB, and I think I was 25th, I think, then, for the first time. I did then Lakes in a Day in October, followed 2 weeks later by On, and then I had a couple of fell races in there. And then I wondered why I was injured next year. Now I reflect on it.
What was your UTMB time? Just, you remember?
I think it was 26 hours.
6 hours, wow. Duncan, what did you do? 27. Close. Yeah, cracking time.
Yeah, so I think at Cormier or Cold Ferry, I was about 11th place and going really well. And then the last third of the race was one of those like you're walking at home type. Like, oh, I'm going to do this. I'm not waiting this 100 mile. It was my first 100 miler as well. Then, what came next?
That's a hard race.
Yeah. So there was a few bad years, you know, with some niggling injury that never really got over. I had some good races and bad races. And then I actually sort of got in the gym, worked on my weaknesses. Part of the problem was I stopped biking and stopped paddling, and my strength kind of dissipated. I wasn't getting that cross-training impact. So I needed to actually sort that out, and rather than bike and paddle again, I used some strength training to help, and it kind of worked. So 2019, was it 2019?
2019, yeah.
Yeah. I came down to Cornwall, and luckily, I just beat the snowstorm. Literally was pulling off the road. I think the road was getting shut, and unfortunately a lot of people had to spend the night on the A30, is that right?
That's right, yeah.
Yeah.
We're just glad it was the day before and not the day of the race. Yeah, it was quite, well, I would and I wouldn't, but logistics might have been a problem.
It was my first time down to Cornwall since I was a family holiday. So it was great to get down here, and it was my first time, map in hand.
Your wife done the 50 as well,
yeah.
She did well.
She did well.
Yeah.
She wasn't out at sea. The tracker was showing her I was at the end, and James was like, what's that tracker doing out at sea? Like, well, she's out there, what can I do? It's just like, I knew it would be a tracker glitch, and she came in not long after. And that was a really great race. You know, I loved, this was early on in the race where you could see and the views, and that's why I come back for more of these views. And actually I could see something in the daylight and explore the coastline and enjoy it. And I remember setting off, right, I'll just sit in here, and then the 3 or 4 of us all went a long way after, just out the first town. And then we were like, okay, let's overtake, and there's Laura, right, off we go again. And then eventually I sort of went, oh, I'm in the lead. And then, right, I'll just head down and no fear, let's go for it. I can navigate, let's enjoy this. And it was brilliant, except for that bit on the road. I'm not a road runner. It's like, oh, what's this tarmac stuff? And then I got past, where's the bit before St Ives?
Centre?
Yeah.
Centre ahead, yeah.
Yeah, it was great. It went on for a long, long time. And you went, where is this St Ives? I'm sure I've been going for that long. But it suited me that bit because it was up, down, rough ground. You know, I run on the fell, so it was perfect. And eventually you get to St Ives. But before then, I seem to remember at one stage I did a loop round. There was a path section. We were running round. Hang on a minute, I'm back at the same point as I was before. What's happened here? And then there was the badger moment. I was running along the path, and suddenly there's this badger running at me. I literally had to do a hurdle. Am I awake? I'm convinced it was a badger and it wasn't just sleep monsters. And then you get to the sand dunes, yeah, like, yes, it's daylight. And you're trying to find your way through the dunes of Doom. You're through there, and then you've got that long bit, and then you've got the last climbs, and you're setting your new goals all the time. You're like, right, I'm going to win this race. Right, how quick can I get into this? Can I do this? And then just to keep pushing yourself constantly, resetting those goals. And it was great. I got to set a course record, and it was brilliant. 100 miler.
Who's doing the play tonight? Anybody here? Who's doing it to get a guaranteed entry to the Arc? You are. Just the one? That it? Just the one. Well, take this in.
Okay.
We good?
Yes.
Ah.
So, my passion is round. I love the mountains. Big, challenging, lumpy stuff. And here is how many 4 Bob Grahams I've done now. My first one was actually probably my first ultra. So in 2009, I got back to the lakes in late 2007, started the running, and a year and a bit later, I did my first Bob Graham, and it was brilliant. I thought, wow, I love this. But years later, I want to do a winter round. That's going to be my next one. And I was like, can I do Jim Mann's record? Maybe I can. And the picture on the left was me at the finish, but it wasn't like your ordinary dry. When Jim set the record, there was no snow and it was like a grey, misty day, and it was pretty good for running. When I decided to go, it was proper winter. I was in spikes for 90% of the day, and it was soft snow. And luckily, someone else had decided the same thing the day or like a few hours before, so there was a bit of a trail that I was following. But I still went off like, right, I'm going to beat Jim's record. I was dropping paces on leg 1, leg 2, but it was getting tiring. By leg 3, I realised that no, this is not really the day for Jim's record, but this is great. And it was just amazing day out in the lakes, in snow, in winter, and it was still pretty quick. So I thought, oh, okay, maybe I can do, if I can do that time, maybe I can do Jim's record. So 2 years later, so I think the art got in the way of the winter record. I came down and decided to...
Worth it though.
It was definitely worth it. I thought, okay, next year, December the 1st, was written in the diary. Unfortunately, it was also written in someone else's diary. Poor old Andy was written in his diary as well, right? We're both going for it. And then we had right, what time are you going to go? And I decided to go, I don't know how it worked, but I ended up going first. And then Andy was going to go half an hour later. And it was just this most perfect day in December. It was still not much wind. It was really, really cold. The hoarfrost was just covered the backside of Glen Caffra, the second or third hill, and it was just like sparkling in your head torch, and it's just flowing. And because you know you've got someone chasing you, and you're not just like, right, I'm going to do this. And then the day came up, and it was blue sky, it was warm, and I was just running on fire, and it was just really, really, really good. And they didn't tell me that Andy had like dropped at Dunmail. Was it Dunmail? They wouldn't tell me. They knew that with someone chasing me, I'd be just driven and driven. But
I'll just butt in here that this is Andy Berry. Stand up, Andy. Andy's also down from the lakes doing the play tonight, and also a very rapid runner. So yeah, Andy's on the play tonight.
So that was, I think it was top 10 time ever on a Bob Graham in winter. 15 hours, 47 minutes. Yeah, it was just one of those beautiful days in the mountains where you're on fire, and so that was the kind of point where it clicked. Actually, I'm quite good at these long distance challenges in the mountains, which kind of plants a seed and gives you a bit of confidence. So before pandemic hit, I was thinking, right, maybe I'll have a go at the Ramsey and the Paddy Buckley. So the following year,
it was dark.
it was dark. Hold on. So I ended up doing this.
Phil, do a voiceover.
I think that's me just coming down there.
So this is
Slightly in front of Kim at that time.
So I always look at
Talk
this.
us through it.
I always look at this. This is coming towards Green Gable. There must be 2/3 of the way around, and I always think, wow.
Is that that bloody place on the Scaffold Skyways?
Yeah.
Oh, bloody
Yeah.
horrible place.
Yeah. And there's Great Gable in the background that was just coming down. So what happened? Well, some pandemic hit, and I didn't get to do the pad. And I was waiting, I was training. I live on the side of Blencathra and out the door, so I could train all through the pandemic. And I was getting really fit. I was being able to put these training blocks in and put them together. So I ended up starting the Lakeland 24 challenge, which was how many peaks you can do in 24 hours and finish at the same point. The record stood since 1997. It was Mark Hartell who had beaten Mark McDermott, and Mark McDermott had beaten Joss Naylor's record, who everyone thought was an unbeatable record when Joss Naylor did it, and we put another few tops onto that. So it was one of those that had been in the background and you think, nah, that's not for me, I'm not that good. But the pandemic meant an opportunity arose. Well, I couldn't get to Wales. Maybe I'll just give it a try. Who knows? There's no... If you failed on it, that's fine. A lot of people had failed on it. Adam had 5 attempts. Stevie B had 2. So... Oh, okay. That was my time. Adam had just had a go a few months before, or 5 weeks before. And so, right, it's my turn to give it a go. Let's I had a moment before I thought, right, I'm going to go and run leg 1. If I can run it at race pace and do it in time, that was enough to give me the confidence to go, okay, if I can do leg 1 in time, maybe the rest can happen. So 5 weeks later, I'm standing at Braithwaite at 3 in the morning in a godly hour with a support team, and I went for it. And literally, I raced it from the start. I think I was doing some ridiculous miles. The start is a couple of miles down the road to get to the first hill, and then you're up. And then I was just having this dream day again, where I was up on splits. Eventually it gets hard, and it's not so fun, but you're able to push because you're up. You've got this confidence. And then a lot of people, if anyone's done the Bob Graham, you get to Wasdale, and you're faced with a U-barrow, steep wall. It's like, on a Bob Graham, it's about 45, 50 minutes. If you're doing a 24-hour, maybe towards 35, 40 minutes on a quick round. And, this doesn't feel so good anymore. And I started to have my wobble in the low point. Quick, stuff some crisps in, stuff some more food in. Right, I had planned to do Haycock as the extra peak, but we looked at it and went, nah, that looks too big and too far away, so we decided, right, let's just concentrate, let's see if we can get under 77, or this Fleetwood Pike a bit later. So I picked up, and eventually went for Fleetwood Pike, and then you're committed to, can I do this in time? And those last 4 hours, the darkness came, there was mist on the clag. I'm fighting that urge of the body telling me, you should slow down, you've got to slow down. But the clock's against you, and your brain's like, I can do this. And you're pushing on, and eventually you're like, am I going to make it? And when the last top comes, and you know it's going to happen, oh man, that euphoria running down off Grisdale Pike, down into the village, to the finish, it's just like, amazing. To do that record was probably tops, almost, or is equal to that running for GB in my mind. It was just that special moment that you just don't think is possible, and when it happens, it's like, wow. So that kind of gives you the bug. So this last year, there's a few photos, and I think that smile at the end of relief and just, it's part of that reason why I do it, why I push myself. There's Reece clearly enjoying himself. Maybe it was the smell. Okay. So this year, been another pretty good year. I thought, right, I'll go and get the Paddy Buckley now. Let's go and push myself. Let's see if I can do that. And it was just a big weather window again. It was that beautiful crisp weather in April, just before the weather turned cold and snowy again. And it was just, the bulks were fairly dry. The sun was up. It was like 0 degrees when I started, but no wind, so when you're working it felt good. And I just, from the start I've learned, okay, if I go for it, maybe that's my opportunity, and then I get into a rhythm of, this is how hard I hike, this is how hard I run downhill. So in the first 2 legs, up over the Glidders and down over Triffin, which is really quite rocky, technical terrain, boulders, I made 20 minutes up on Matt Roberts' his time, and for the rest of the round I pretty much stayed at that whole distance. And this was me on the top of Snowdon, knowing 20 minutes up, I've only got a few hills, that it was likely to happen, and you kind of like enjoy the moment of what you're doing and being in that magical place, and it's just wonderful. And there's a few others of me running with Jack Scott and Rob, and then showing Damon which way to go. Great. So that was. So I thought, right, what's next? What can I try? And then there's this lure of, I've been watching the Monroe's record, and I thought, right, I really want to explore that. There's a bit of a carrot. They left the top. So Sasha and his friend Alistair last year saw that Jim Mann had done a round of 30 Monroes in the Cairngorms, but had left 2 hours. So they saw, actually there's another 2 or 3 there that we could add in. So they went for it last August, and got 32 tops. But there was still, they had 45 minutes to spare, and there was Brerick just dangling as a carrot. Like, maybe if I'm a bit more efficient. So I thought, right, let's give this a go. So just 4 or 5 weeks ago, I went up to Cairngorms, managed to get a really good team of local and some friends that helped me on the 24. And for the first half of the day, we had great views, a bit of cloud cover, not too warm, and really good for running. And I was bouncing, I was running that first leg uphill really quickly. Oh, well, I've lost the pacer. And then we had a few problems. The second team, because not like the Bolt Graham where you have road crossings, the valleys, the runners have got to run like an hour and a half to get into the road crossings to help support you. The second leg runners hadn't arrived on time, but luckily I've got Rob Sinclair, who loves Monroes and running fast, and he was super strong, so he carried on. And then Ali Bevan, who wrote Broken, eventually caught up and carried on, and then it turned really quite bad at night. The rain came in, the drizzle, and I was just having to try and fight again. It just like getting deja vu of the Lakeland 24, where you're just fighting and fighting. Luckily I'd made a buffer, and I started to lose time a little bit. But I had enough in the bag. This was me at the top of Loch Nagar. Not as euphoric, and not as feeling as good at the Lakeland 24. I think I was perhaps more broken on this than I was on that. And the last descent was about an hour across the most roughest Scottish terrain you can imagine, and your legs are broken, they've got no bounce. It's like trying to finish the arc and coming up the last few hills, and your legs are lead, and then you're trying to run, and you're against the clock, and this kilometre, how long is this kilometre going to take? And eventually you get there, and 12 minutes to spare. I'd added 33, monos to the record. So that was just really, really satisfying. So it's like, okay, brilliant.
Kind of run out of records to get now. You can't. Is there any others that you got an eye on, or?
No.
No.
Well, it starts you thinking, doesn't it? There's always, what's next? What if? What do I do? So to fill the space, I'm going to go Dragon's Back and have a fun adventure for 5 days with Fergie and oh, 6 days now.
6 days.
6 days. Oh. Whose clever's idea?
Ferg was asking if you had any tips from me. I said, Ferg's a good navigator and latched on to that.
Yeah. He just latched on to me.
I'll be right.
I could grab the bungee.
Better get through day one first.
But a large portion of why I do it as well is for these moments. It's not all about the success and feeling of completing these challenges and that finish line smile that I get. It is being out in the environment and getting these wow and awe moments of whether it's the hoarfrost on the back of Ben Caffra or the sunrise on the hike up Nick or the being above the clouds on Skiddaw, or jumping badgers. It's those moments of wow and being on a journey in the environment as well as the pushing and challenging yourself. That's part of who I am. So this is a kit list from the Steve Parr attempt they tried this winter just gone, which Andy Berry is the record holder for the Steve Parr, just broke the record this summer for that. I thought I'd have a go in winter, in the midwinter, in snow. The first attempt, I really shouldn't have started, it was bad, but I just wanted to see if I could. And it was a winter storm blown in, and it was a bit gnarly, and I probably got about 15 hours and into the round and was aiming for under 2 days. So, the weather got better. Let's give this a go again in 6 days' time. So I went twice in within a week, and pretty much got 33 hours around and onto the second to last leg almost to the penultimate leg. So I'm into the second night. I've tried to sleep for 5 minutes before I'm shivering, and I get up, and then I'm climbing Fairfield, and a storm hits, and I'm on the top of Fairfield in winter, on my own, in a blizzard, trying to find the summit, thinking, why am I here? What life choices made me get here? So, I managed to more kit. I have plenty of kit, and I've warmed on. Eventually, I get to Red Screes, and it's this steep path through the cliffs, and it's white out in a storm, and I can't find the path down. So I had to turn around, go back up the mountain, and then I'm done. It was like 33 hours of pure adventure, and that was that sense of adventure of, can I do it? And that's what a lot of us, when we start doing ultras and build up the distances, it's that unknown. Can I do this? That sense of adventure, where the failure is, well, maybe. And that, for me, that Steve Parr was that, I don't know if I can, let's see. And for me, not finishing it, that's fine. I made a sensible decision of sound mountain judgment that it wasn't the right time to finish. But it was a huge success, that journey. I just wanted to share that was fun adventure in some ways, and part of why we do ultras, or I do ultras, should I say. Any questions? Sorry.
Yeah, we're gonna just got time for about 3 questions. Anything anybody wants to put to Kim? Floyd?
If you could make a run that after you, where would it be and what would it be like?
if I could have
like a round named after you, maybe.
if I could have a round named after me.
Named after you, yeah.
Ooh, that's a hard one. It's kind of limited, isn't it, of what's not been done already. You don't almost have to be, I guess, something new in Scotland, would it? No, I don't know. I have to think of that one.
What's the Dragon's Back? Oh, you can't 6 days this time, so I don't know. Yeah, you can't go beating that one yet. You're going to have to set one for that. We'll let him think about that, Floyd. Any more for any more? Dan?
Hello, Kevin. Welcome back to Cornwall.
Thank you.
So you did the Arc, and you're back again. So there's obviously something about the Southwest, unless Fergie's got something on you that you don't want to know. So lots of us here, we travel up to the lakes and to the peaks in Scotland and Wales, and we love going up there to race. It's really great to see you and Andy and a few others coming down here to race. I just wondered what the conception is from you guys of racing in the Southwest. What's your opinion of racing in the Southwest? Are you aware of it?
Yeah, I'm clearly aware of it because, Ferg does a brilliant job of, and the Mud Crew event of, and sharing that, creating the Arc, that event of, the time of year, for me, was the draw of how this is going to be a challenging, having been down in Cornwall as a kid, knowing the nature of the path would be, and I thought, okay, this is going to be not a flat trail race. This is going to be something that draws me in. The reason I'm probably coming back is that also that sense of community that you've got down here, that it's a real community feel and vibe and then that spirit that draws you back in as well. It's just, I remember from the Arc, just the beautiful, during the daylight, the beautiful views of the coastline. During the night, the mine works, just popping out from the dark. Oh wow! And imagining you're on the TV set of we all know Poldark, and it's just that, wow, this is a beautiful place to come and run. And so there's plenty of beautiful places to explore in the UK, and this is one of them. It's good.
Cool.
Send your friends.
Any more questions from anybody? So, Stephen.
So TDS 2019 wasn't successful. Do you want to go back and do those? Are you interested in those kind of big events with thousands of people? Is that something that does excite you, or are you not bothered?
Yeah, so I've been to the UTMB series 6 times. It just draws me in. The level of competition is kind of the World Championships by de facto. All the races there are really, really super competitive and an international field. So you always want to do your best, and sometimes because you want to do the best you can, you have a bad race because you overstretch yourself and you go over that red line and you learn something from that. So I've been 6 times, finished 6 times, DNF'd, finished 3 times, DNF 3 times on all the 3 big races there. And it will draw me back. I was due to go to UTMB this year and race it, but kind of decided with the pandemic and the travel, and I took the opportunity to do something different. But they do excite me and draw me because of that I'm not going to win. There is that level of competition that you can push yourself. For me, it's not always winning. It's about trying to do the best I can. And so if that's pushing myself against a field where I know there's a Killian or, I'm not going to win that race. But I want to do the best I can in that field. And it's just beautiful out there as well. That the Alps, running around Mont Blanc and looking at the Grand Jurasses and being in Cormier. It's just wonderful. I love it.
Thank you. Well, I think we're going to wrap it up there. We're going to get things ready for the plague briefing. But just Kim, that was great. Thank you ever so much for making your way down. Kim's got to get some sleep because he's got the Black Rat in the morning. He's going to have a bit of stiff local competition from what I can gather. So we wish him luck for the morning. And just thank Kim very much. Thank you.
Enjoy your races tonight and tomorrow.
I don't know what's going on with that.
Interference from something?
I've tried 4 different channels and it doesn't make a difference. That's the first time it's ever done that.
It's weird, isn't it? Sometimes these things...
And the feedback came from him standing right in front of me.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the feedback came right from him standing in front of the speakers. It's so hard to keep it under control, but... so when it feeds back, everyone looks at you.
I know. All your fault.
It is, apparently. I did tell him at the start. But that radio mic though, puzzled. This is live on Facebook. Hi Facebook.
Go sleep.
Yes. Try.
Yeah.
I know very good. The sprint tomorrow.
I'll see you at the start line and I'll stick a camera in your face in the morning, I'm afraid. Sorry. Yeah. I won't chat to you, sorry. I'll just go like this. Actually, I might go. Did you sleep? That's if I wake up.
You know, it's so nice to hear.
Oh, thank you.
You can really tell.
I think I think perhaps going to do this. You know,
But have you... But this is my wife. Sorry.
It's competitive time.
No, I thought I'd go and see if there's any plague, any void runners around.
hold back.
Okay, so we're just heading to the start line and to the sanctuary for the Boyd runners, just to see if there's any Boyd runners in and what's going on over there. So there are no Boyd runners in, but there's just Andy Trudigan sitting by the fire, keeping himself nice and warm. One of the other race directors.
Yeah. First I've got to go that way, then that way. I'm number 92 and my legs...
So whenever a Boyd runner finishes, they will come into this area here. You can see their bags or their boxes of nutrition and clothing are all laid down here.
Because I know I suffer from it anyway.
They are not allowed to go anywhere else other than this area, and nobody else is allowed in to help them to do anything at all. So they have to completely fend for themselves for the whole 24 hours. So what we're talking about here is the Boyd race. This is a Bring Out Your Dead 24-hour race. where they do 2.5 miles out onto the hills out there and 2.5 miles back, and they do that as many times as they can in 24 hours. And if they stop for more than 10 minutes, they're out of the race. The plague will go off in an hour and a half from now. Plague goes off at midnight, and they will start from here. They will go 50 kilometres out to St Anthony's Head, turn around and come back. And then at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, the Black Rat will begin. That's 32 miles, or 31-ish miles, 50k, from St Anthony's Head. They start out at St Anthony's Head, and they basically do the second half of the plague, and that'll be tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock. They will start. And then a little later in the morning, we have the Red Rat, which is a 20-mile race, and the White Rat, which is an 11-mile race. They will start later on tomorrow morning. Here is a buoyed runner coming in, I think, with a light on there. And if we just turn the camera to the left here. Hello.
How you doing?
I'm good, you?
Good.
Yes.
Glad I'm not doing this.
Oh, God, that's awful, isn't it? Scary.
That fire looks lovely and toasty.
Yeah, well, Andy's nicked it at the moment.
Oh, is that what you were debating? Well, everyone's got nice socks, but I don't know. I don't think it's actually that cold. I mean, I normally feel cold, and I'm still doing it. I'm quite cold now, but I won't be when I'm.
Are you? Have you just arrived?
Down in yeah. Oh, really?
So you're not going to... You slept, have you?
I stayed up all last night and then went to bed at 10 o'clock this morning.
Oh, okay, that's a good idea.
Yeah, and then woke up about 6, so I feel alright.
Yeah. I should be pointing at the camera at you, but there's no light on your face, so... It'd be a terrible
No,
look.
with a head torch here, I'm sure he's got nothing
Yeah.
else to do.
Oh, hang on. How are you doing?
Yeah, all right.
Yeah? What lap are you on?
Just finished my third.
Third lap. Okay. Yeah. Looking good. Down in the Coke. Head torch on, and we are 10:30. So there's a good bit of night to go.
Every few nights of the week.
But if you're a buoyed runner and you're suffering now, then you're not really going to do very well at this race. So
I'm feeling fresh.
Feeling fresh is the answer we need at this stage.
How's the path looking?
Yeah, good, quite dry.
Is it?
Yeah. Nice and cool.
I'm getting different reports about the weather tomorrow.
I'm getting different reports about the trail as well. I've heard some people say you need like proper tread, and other people saying, oh, it's fine, it's dry.
Look, I better point the camera at you. Right, so just off to the left, I've been talking to Tristan Stevenson here. Tristan, a little light. Oh, go on then. So Tristan, what should we talk about first? My goodness. Right. Producer of the Trail and Error podcast, if you ever listen to that. And also, well, basically super ultra runner. Won the Serpent Trail just a few weeks ago. Won the Southwest Traverse a few weeks ago in a silly time. And no doubt tomorrow midday sometime, we'll come in and finish the Plague, which will be starting at midnight. And we reckon the course record is going to go. If it's not Tristan, it'll be somebody else. So we reckon the course record's going to go tomorrow.
Bloody good course record, so I don't know about that.
What is the course record?
I think about 10:50, is it? Yeah.
So course record is 10:50. We're reckoning under 10.5.
Oh, I don't know who you're expecting to do that.
It's just a little push. Just a little push, Tristan.
We can't be too quick because we've got to get the white buses off and you can't come in before they go.
Oh, yeah. What time do they leave?
Spaces, 10:30.
So
all right, that's a challenge.
Right, so
that seems like almost more juicy than the course record.
Before, but we
just
had
to
them
screw
all,
up
they
the
were
time.
all welcoming party for you, so it's fine.
Yeah,
Made them wait.
that would be nice because often everyone's already vanished off to a different part of the course when you finish.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's your challenge.
The problem with you finishing the plague, whoever wins the plague tomorrow, the winners of the plague, it's such a shame because everyone's out racing still. So you'll finish and there'll be nobody here.
I'll just see this lot.
Well, there'll be the Boyd runners. The Boyd runners are going to stop and clap. Oh yeah, well done for finishing your pathetic 100k.
Yeah. But I'm looking forward to it.
Right, he's off.
There you go.
Oh no, he's not quite off. He's not quite off. He's going to fill his bottles up. Well, good luck, Tristan. Anyway.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thanks for that. That's all right. Always good for a bit of comedy.
Are you moving around all over the place then?
I'll obviously be here at the start. Then I'm going to go over to St Anthony's Head for the turnaround. Hopefully I'll make it to your turnaround. In all seriousness.
If I can get there in... I would say it's likely to get there around about... quarter past and half past.
Then I'll try and get to an aid station somewhere around, but whether I can catch you or not, I don't know.
Hopefully not.
Even in a car?
Hopefully not. Well, this is it.
If you're turning around, you're going to have way over. I'm going to have to sprint to get to care.
Yeah, because there's no point in
I'm not sure I'll make it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Look, things can go wrong.
Yeah, of course.
Who knows? But that would be in my timing.
Okay. Yeah, well, that just helps me out, so I know where I need to be.
Yeah, cool. Well, I should see you later.
I'm cold.
We thought we never got invited to Oh, now that's out of the question. Caroline, and she gets asked on the extra, so I want you to ask Caroline. How come me and Wendy never get asked on the extra? And we can never to go on the extra. I said, I'm coming on the same.
Yeah, that's not asking, that's telling. He wouldn't say no to you. No. He'd just look at, he'd look at us and laugh.
Okay, that's it from Mud Cruise Rat Weekend for the time being. So we've had the start of the Boyd earlier on today. We've had Kim Collison's guest speaker talk, little chat with one of the race favourites, Tristan Stevenson. We'll be back in about an hour's time for race briefing and the start of the plague. So we'll see you then. Don't go away. Well, do go away, but don't go to bed. Come back shortly.
Get new pink ones. You want to sponsor me?
Yes, you did like that. Yes, and yes.
But to be fair, though, you guys were on the go. And then I could come up with it. We'll get dressed. See you in a bit. I'll see you on the pod bus.
Yeah, I'll see you around. Are we soon a minute and find you though? Oh no, wait, you're yeah. Oh yeah. That would
have worked then.
How are you feeling? My nose brown.
I've got a bladder at home or something
No,
so I can always
there's
pop over and bring
no
some back.
outside assistance.
Oh.
Sorry guys, you can't get rid of that.
No? I've done that.
Good luck, Richard.
You're on your own, mate.